Hey, 44 and Killa, what's up, dudes? Happy Sunday. Just getting the lab all prepped. I think we're good.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Killa, I just want you to know that I know that you know that I know you're full of crap. Alrighty, it's about that time. I think I've got everything up and running. Computer's acting a little weird. But what else is new? There we go. Alright. I think it's working now. Yeah. Alright. Cool. Let's kick this off. Where's the button? Where's the button? There's the button. There we go. What's up, everybody? Same to you, Killa. I hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. Spent most of the day. Dang it. We thought the freaking El Nino rain psyched us out again, right? We were going to go riding today. And then, like, this big storm blew through. But it didn't even reach all the way out to the track where we go ride. It's about an hour outside of Dallas. And thank you. Sock brought me my water. So we were going to go out to that track. The rain didn't even freaking reach out there. We got dumped on. It was dry as a bum. So we thought, okay, crap, we're going to get rained out. The track owner messages us. He's like, hey, guys, you still coming out? I was like, dude, we thought we got rained. He's like, nah, not a drop. I'm like, damn it. So we just went in the shop. We spent the whole time working on Agent Zero's quad. In fact, I threw a couple of pictures up on the Discord. Let me see. Yeah, so one of the things found out while we were working on this started off as a simple job, right? Right here. And then we come through and we find out his rear brake is just toast. So now we got to replace his rear pads. His master cylinder, which is like actually up over here, is toast. It's not sending any pressure. He was just like, he might have gone through the last race with no rear brake. So going through, checking things out, and also swapping out his carburetor. Let's see. Yeah, so that's where his carburetor was. We yanked that out. I've got tissue in there now to just keep gunk from getting into the engine. But yeah, so we're getting ready to replace his carburetor, put new tires on it. We also, what else did we do? I was getting ready to put the new rear sprocket on because the sprocket teeth had gotten really sharp. That's a sign that they're about to break. And then after that happened, I found out I got the wrong sprocket. I was like, damn it. The good news, at least on that, one of the other quads, the one that my nephew rides, he can use that sprocket when it comes time. So we just put it into the backup parts box. And so we'll have that for next time. So it was a good day, though. It was nice to just be able to spend a couple hours out in the shop because I haven't gotten to do that very much. And my father-in-law likes it because I'm pretty much the only one who goes out there and works with him. So it was a good time. I mean, it's all necessary stuff that we needed to do. The slide carb is actually an upgrade. So usually what you've got is you've got a cylinder. You can come down here. So typically what you've got for a carburetor is you've got like this kind of box on top, and then there's a cylinder here. Goes about like this, right? Here. And then this is where the air comes in. This is where the fuel air mixture comes out. And then in here, you've got a little needle that's actually spraying the fuel in, right? So to control this, you'll have another cylinder right here that's sliding up and down, and it restricts the flow. So what we did is we got rid of that cylinder version, and now he's got something called a slide carb, which is basically like this plane that moves up and down instead. Wrapping out. Let's see, there we go. I think that fixed it. Dude, they're all... Let me see. No, YouTube's just being a turd. That's how it is. Anyway, so yeah, so we swapped out his carburetor. We got him a new one that's going to properly fit. The problem is, sitting up here, there's a little connector. Goes about like this. and then this connects over to his throttle cable. So to his throttle cable, this cable is too long. So it's very, very thinly connected right here because we had to take up some of the slack. So the slide carb is supposed to kind of fix all that. Oh, it's looking good? All right, awesome. Because I got a pop-up from YouTube saying that your signal's crap. I'm like, no, you're crap. So this was actually the main thing we were going to do today. And then turns out we had like all this other stuff to do. So, fun times in motocross repair land there. Let's get rid of all this. Something else I noticed, by the way. So I've had one of my Claude agents, Harvey. I've been sending notes of what we've been doing on Dracarys over to him to keep track of, so we could plan out a walkthrough video of it. I'll basically go reset the lab and I'll walk through, and I want to try and reproduce all the issues and record it as like a long walkthrough video of like, hey, this is actually more like a real pen test than you might expect because of all the various technical issues we had during it. And I pasted the notes from yesterday. These ones right here with all the Kerberos information, and it absolutely flipped crap on me. It just went nuts. And so it's like, you're blocked, like everything, like basic security stuff. And I'm in their cyber program or whatever. It's never given me this much trouble. So I'm thinking that Anthropic went through and just way overcompensated and dialed up their guardrails after all of the fumble situation that happened. So I was like, gee, thanks. Thanks. Freaking Anthropic, man. Anyway, speaking of the lab, so let's go get reestablished in there real quick, because what we're going to need to do is we got to go through the Kerberos dance again. Yeah. Dude, I couldn't, when they took Fable offline, how was I supposed to know? Every single request I sent to it, it was like, guardrail, guardrail, guardrail. Even like some of the most innocuous stuff. So Harvey is using Daniel Miesler's PAI project. You haven't seen this, it's actually really, really cool. Let me find it real quick. Let's see. Miesler PAI. It's a personal AI infrastructure. It's a very cool tool. However, it completely subsumes and modifies a lot of the core functionality of how Claude Code works. So a lot of people don't like it. I like it a lot. It's the primary agent that I use for a lot of things. However, one of the things that it has is it has a memory function where it will store things into like a memory folder structure on disk. Very cool. So even when I try to do stuff that's maybe not even related to cybersecurity, it will pull memories and it will see cybersecurity shit in the memories and then bam, it instantly evict me out. So it's kind of like the joke whenever GitHub got compromised. Oh, really? How did they find an uptime window long enough to compromise GitHub? Well, heck, how did you even know Fable was offline? Nobody could use it. Such a Charlie Foxtrot. Anyway, so yeah, this personal AI infrastructure from Daniel Miesler. By the way, the same guy who made SecList, well-known security guy for a long time too. So I like him. I like his work a lot. I don't necessarily agree with him on everything, but still doesn't change the fact he's still a very bright dude, and I like it. I like what he does a lot. You don't have to agree 100% with somebody to like them or be their friend. Just FYI, in case you didn't know that. There's your Mr. Rogers moment for the day. Anyway, so let's go hop back into the lab real quick. Where is it? Where's the lab? There it is. And let's go do our Kerberos dance again. Let's see. So what I need to do is I need to go get, for everything we set up, we should just be able to get a TGT for Cyrax. Actually, I wonder if this will still be alive. Yeah, it's died. It died because the Kerberos ticket basically expired between the conversations. So that's fine. But let's see if we can do this. Get TGT for Cyrax. And then let's go ahead and we'll export this. So now we're going to use that TGT that we just got, Cyrax dollar. So that's the one we're using. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a get ST. Yes, I think this should work. Because we should be able to be delegated to Arax from here, but then we can set the alt service to Vagar. That should work. Wait, hold on. I must have missed a step here. I thought I was remembering it correctly. Let me see. So we did the RBCD. Oh, we need to get a service ticket for Cyrax impersonating administrator. That's actually what we need to do. So we had to... Let me put a note in here real quick. That we went and we had to get a TGT for Cyrax to do that first. So let me grab this part right here. Copy that. Let's throw that over into the notes real quick. Just like that. And then what we'll do is now we're going to go get a service ticket for Cyrax, but we're going to impersonate administrator here. Wait, didn't we set this up so that... God, I'm trying to remember. We went through all the steps last night. We did more troubleshooting because of EvoWinRM, and I've forgotten it. Let me think. So we went through, we set up delegation. God, I gotta remember. Hang on. Let me hop back into Bloodhound real quick. Let's double check here. Let's see. Search for Cyrax. In fact, we might just want to go do another Bloodhound collection real quick. Let's see. Yeah, so Cyrax is allowed to delegate to Arax here. $11. All right. Have a good night. Let's see. God, I'm trying to remember what we did. That's all right. Let me go grab... Hold on. Let me just look at the notes again real quick. I'm trying to make sure I did everything correctly here. So what we did is we allowed Arax to delegate to Cyrax. That's right. So to do this... Did I capture all the steps? I hope so. Yeah, so, but this was for setting up our role-based constraint delegation, which we should have in here. That should write on the MSDS allowed to act on behalf of other identity. And so we were delegating that to Cyrax. So the change actually happens on there. And we verified that that was there using Bloody AD. Let me check it again real quick. Oh, ticket expired. Dang it! I stopped by to promote a tool, now I'm too scared it's going to be too vulnerable at the current stage. Dude, every tool starts vulnerable. And I mean, I'll take that back. There's two types of tooling development, like where they come from. You're working on it, and usually 90% of the time, people are just trying to get it to work, right? And then security becomes... an overlay on top of that. It's like, cool, we got it working. Now, how do we make it work securely? Or they start with security in mind and like have a very tight, constrained set of requirements for how the program is going to work. Oh, so what happened here, 44, was we haven't, all of our Kerberos tickets are from last night. They only last a couple hours. They're all just expired. So what we need to do is we need to get a TGT. Let's see. There we go. And then that will work again. So we just had to refresh our credentials right there. Yeah, so we still have the allowed to act on behalf of identity here. That's for 1113. That was the Arax computer. So we're good there. All right, so after we did that, let me think. I have to think through this again. Yeah, so let's go, hold on. I'm going to run through this again real quick. Let's go grab our TGT for Cyrax. Which we should already have that in there. But let's just do it again real quick. So not going to, there we go. All right, so there's our Cyrax one. So then let's export that again. And then we should be able to go get our service ticket now. Let's make sure this is going to work. No, dang it, I must have forgotten to write down a step. So I've applied some security steps, but I'm missing to address the latest minor fixes I found that could optimize the whole thing. Okay. Dude, I mean, that's part of the iterative step. So I like to tell people, especially like if you're working as a developer, you don't need to know how to do this kind of stuff day in, day out, but you want to understand the nature of the attacks. Because if you don't understand them, you can't defend against them. So understanding how, depending on how your app is set up, if it's a web app, you want to understand things like cross-site request forgery, cross-site scripting. Cross-site scripting is largely handled a lot by a lot of the popular front-end frameworks, but still you want to understand it so that if and when it comes up, you're knowledgeable about it. You can actually go through and debug how it's actually executing in there. But anything like that, indirect, like IDORs, indirect object references. I was thinking insecure. Well, technically, I guess it's insecure direct object references. That's usually what it stands for. But basically, hitting API endpoints that don't enforce authentication, or static files on a system that don't enforce any kind of authentication to go read. Those kind of things. And you want to kind of be able to gauge what the risk of them is. If the file name is some big, long UUID, right, and the user doesn't have a way to leak that UUID, chances are they're probably never going to guess it, and even if it's available without authentication, they're never going to find it. So those aren't usually, big deals. But that's why I said understanding it will help you get a way better grasp on, hey, if and when somebody finds something, you can actually start beginning to think about what it's doing. Or address it before the system even goes live, which is the better idea. Ticket and authenticator don't match. Hold on. Oh, you know why? I just realized we don't need the Kerberos ticket in here. Yeah, I'm an idiot. We didn't need the Kerberos ticket because of this. I forgot about that. We're using Arax. We're using the Arax account, right? This is Arax with their password, and we're using that to get a ticket for Cyrax impersonating the administrator account. That's it. So I guess we actually didn't need that. Let me take that back out. Where was it? Yeah, hold on. let me boot this out. We didn't need that. We want to unset our KRB5 CC name in here. Boop. And the reason why we're doing that is because we don't want to use Kerberos authentication. We're using the password in this case. So, boom. Let's see. See, I've got an MVP up to be able to test for myself on a real server and also validate market needs. So that's okay, cool. Oh, that's what you originally meant, 44? I gotcha. I am not above miscommunication. I try really hard to communicate clearly. I don't always succeed. Doesn't stop me from trying. Let's see. So now that we have that, we're good. Hey, A-World, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you are having a stupendous Sunday. I had a pretty good Sunday today, too. Went to church, went and saw my mom for a little bit, went and worked on the four-wheelers for a couple hours out in the very hot, humid shop. Got a nap, chilled with the family. It's a good day. I thought it was going to rain more today. Otherwise, I was going to break out the smoker, and they had 2-for-1 packs of ribs at the grocery store. So I was like, heck yeah, I love 50% off. So I was gonna throw them in the smoker today, but I thought it was gonna rain all damn day. We were supposed to get a drop. Then it bam. Let's see here. Oh no, you're totally fine, man. Dude, this stream is kind of like, I don't know. I hate to hesitate to use the term ADHD central, but I really like interacting with the folks in the chat. So they'll bring stuff up all the time, and we'll just go check it out. Or people will come in with questions. They'll be like, hey, I'm looking at this, or I'm trying to get into security, or hey, I got a virus pop up on my computer. I'm like, all right, cool. Here's some things you can do. Here's some steps. And helping people out, chatting. The guys in the folks in the chat show me so many cool things. It's like I'd be really stupid to ignore it. They also show me a lot of dumb things too, which then that makes me laugh. So it's a kind of a win-win. Okay, here we go. Here's where we're cooking with. All right. Yeah, so what we did is we requested a service ticket to Cyrax, and we impersonated the administrator account. So this is using the S4U to self and S4U to proxy here. What that gets us is a ticket for the administrator on Cyrax. Bam. Well, Cyrax, remember, didn't have an administrator account. But then what we do is we use Cyrax's TGT, and we pass in that ticket, and then we swap it for access to Vagar. That's right. Yeah, I had to remember that. I had an exam in security, but it was a long time ago. And we had the bandit examples and the server to hack back then. I don't know if I ever saw the bandit labs. You know, bandit. Maybe, it sounds vaguely familiar. Oh, yeah, those are from Over the Wire. Yeah. Over the Wire is a really great CTF. Maybe I'll go through and I'll work on it again someday. I've been through it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. Keep running into, like, life just happening. But yeah, Over the Wire is really cool. I like it. I like it a lot. I was like, that name sounded so familiar. All right, let's see here. All right, now, I tell you what, let's make another section here. So the idea here is we're going to, let's see. Let me make a note here. So get service ticket with Arax to Cyrax, impersonating the administrator account. And then the next thing we're going to do is then, let's see, grab a curb TGT for Cyrax. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get a service ticket. Yeah. Let's see. Get service ticket for, let's see. Yeah. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do is get a service ticket for Cyrax at, let's see, HTTP. And it was arax.dracarys.lab. Then, let's see, do a TGS sub. Yeah, TGS substitution. If I can remember how to spell. What is my keyboard doing? Substitution. To, let's see. Actually, this is not to this. This is actually to administrator. Is it to administrator? Actually, yeah, because we had to pass in that administrator right there. Okay. Let me make sure I'm moving, because there was a lot of Kerberos sleight of hand that we did here. Lots of shell game happening, swapping between accounts. So I got to remember what we did. So we got a ticket. So we're down here at this point, line 188. So in this case, what we're doing is we're getting a service ticket using the Cyrax account, but we're getting it to administrator.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Gumby, hey man, I was just wondering. I meant to message you to check and see how you were doing, because I didn't know if maybe you were out storm chasing, and you might have missed it earlier. I was belly aching about the weather, raining out another one of our motocross weekends. What's up, dude? By the way, Gumby, last night we got administrator access over to the Windows server. So we moved off the Linux server. We're now over on the Windows server. Doing good? I'm glad, man. No, Superman does good. You do well. If y'all hadn't seen 30 Rock, that was actually a hilarious show. Let's see. So I'm just retracing the steps real quick. So, because we have to go reproduce this tonight so we can get the Kerberos tickets back. They've all expired overnight. And that's by design. So we want to take those and we want to be able to get back to where we were. Now, this command here, we're actually using Cyrax. Root it again. We're about to. I'll do it again. So we got Cyrax here. This is the account we're actually using to authenticate, right? We export Cyrax's ticket. So we use the Cyrax account to make a request. And then I need to make sure I remember, what was this additional ticket here option doing? Hang on. Let me go look at this real quick. Additional ticket. There we go. Include affordable service ticket in an S4U to proxy request for role-based constrained delegation and KDC. Kerberos only. Okay. That's right. So I believe what we're doing here is we're forwarding that service ticket over to the KDC to allow it to validate and then cut us the new one for the correct service. Because you have to remember, all the S4U stuff actually happens on, in this case, the domain controller. It's not actually happening on the computer. So, all right, so we get a service ticket for, let me make a note here. So using Cyrax, get a service ticket for administrator at HTTP Arax Dracarys.lab, then do not a TGT sub, TGS sub. And we're going to sub that over to let's see, this will be administrator at here. Bam. There we go. Let me markdownify this a little bit. There we go. So that's what we did right there. Boom. All right, so now we should be good. Because we got our service ticket here. Oop, that gave us that. So now what we need to do is, I think we already exported that, so we should just need our service, get our service ticket again. Let's see. I got to re-export. Hang on. There we go. So now we're operating as Cyrax. And then... there we go. Now we're cooking with propane. All right. And then... after that... once we've got that ticket... that gives us HTTP to Vagar. And then we just did a little quick copy and pasta over here. And the reason we did this is because it looks like Evil WinRM just does not do a very good job at handling that. It doesn't, I don't think it likes all these special characters in the file name. So then we just renamed it to administrator here. Let's see. Ccache. Bam. There we go. And then now we can do our Evil WinRM. There we go. Freaking Evil WinRM. Why are you such a turd? No. Unset. Damn it. We ran into the same issue last night. Make a note of this real quick. Hang on. Let's make a note here. Let's see. May have to do this multiple times because Evil WinRM is kinda jank. There we go. So hold on, let me do one more thing up here. Because I left off all the times I was like, I was exporting and setting like what we were doing. There we go. All right, let's see. All right, so I need to go re-export. I got to run these two commands real quick. So I can get the ticket again. So export that. We'll repull the service ticket. Because Evil WinRM. And like, we literally just ran through this last night. Actually, I tell you what, there may have been... I'm going to do this whole thing one more time. And then let me find the export command again. There we go. And then, because actually, I think there's an error where it actually wants it to be case sensitive, which is wild because nothing in Windows is case sensitive. Okay. Let me unset this again. So we'll set that as Cyrax. We'll go pull this again. Here. Yeah, there was something different about this. I believe this actually did need to be capital HTTP, which is wild to me. There we go. All right, then we'll rename it. We'll re-export it. And then we'll run Evil WinRM again. Yeah, That's so wild. There's nothing in Windows that is case sensitive, but yeah. Yeah, good call, 44. That was exactly it. I think we changed it. I didn't change it in the notes here, and I think that's what... Actually, hold on. I had it twice in here, come to think of it. Yeah. So here, let me just take this version out. There we go. We'll do it like that. I guess we'll take out the jank note. I mean, even though Evil WinRM is fairly jankified. All right. So what we did last night, we do it LS here. We have our Apollo payload here. We added this as a real-time, we added this as a Defender exclusion because we're administrators. So we've got two options here. If we really want to have the Apollo payload come up, what we could do is we could actually go disable real-time monitoring on here, or we could just work inside of Evil WinRM. I thought about going through the process of actually doing like an actual like EDR evading payload. I just didn't feel like going through that tonight. It's not something I have to do very frequently, and I didn't want y'all to have to sit there and like watch me bumble through it. Even though a buddy actually did send me some stuff. I'll tell you what, if we knock out this getting DA on this earlier, then we'll come back again and we'll actually try to make like a C2 evading Apollo payload. Now, keep in mind, this is Windows Defender. This is not Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, because Microsoft sucks at naming. If they are nothing, it is not horrible verbiage and marketing, folks. The Windows Defender is the built-in Defender antivirus that comes with Windows. It's actually pretty decent for what it is. However, it's not all that great. Defender for Endpoint is much more robust and harder to bypass, but you have to have a Microsoft 365 24/7 LB barbecue whatever license for it. So I don't have that because I'm not paying for it. You have to have like either an E3 or E5 license. So instead, I was like, do it on stream, it'll make you learn faster. No, because you guys always send me stuff. I'm kind of spoiled because we have a large suite. They're all internal tools, right? But it's ways for building EDR evasive payloads that I use at work. But I don't have access to those, obviously, for the live stream. So I'm kind of spoiled in that respect. It's something I've been wanting to do more of. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm just going to disable real-time monitoring. That should allow our Apollo payload to fire. Once we fire off the Apollo payload, we can go complete the lab. Then we can actually circle back to like, okay, how would we make this a evasive payload for Apollo to bypass Windows Defender? That's kind of what I'm thinking, if we've got the time for it tonight. All right, so now, I wonder how far back this will let us go. Oh, it will, actually. Cool. Let's see. There we go. Let's see, because we added an exclusion in here. So, right, so our payload is on disk. The problem was the real-time monitoring, once the process actually loads in memory, that's when it's getting flagged. So the other thing we had to disable was real-time monitoring. Now, I wonder if that's... Yeah, so disable real-time monitoring is now set to true, so it should be off, just like that. And then... let's see if we get an Apollo callback. Hey, there we go. Super elite hack source. Just turn the EDR off. Sleep 1. Okay, cool. So now we've got Apollo up there running on the system. Actually, I take it back. I see it. Actually, hold on. Yeah, it checked in. I don't know what the default callback time was. I'm watching the timer here. The timer could just be off a little bit. Let me see what happens here. We might have still gotten squashed by it. No, it looks like the timer's just off for some reason. Because the stuff's coming back. But look at the last check-in time. The last check-in time is all jankified. That is suboptimal. But you know what? It's working. Yeah, no, because this last check-in should say like when it's happening. But obviously, if commands are firing, should be no problem. Let me try something else here. Sleep 3. Let me try reloading the interface here. Okay, there we go. It was just a UI problem. All right. Let's drop it back down to 1. Let's go look at the processes that we've got running on this machine here. So let's see. Anything interesting? Let's go ahead and just sort by process ID. So there's something here running as Rhaegal. See that? And Rhaegal, if you remember, let's go look him up real quick. Rhaegal is a domain administrator in this network, if I remember correctly. Let's see. What is he a member of? Oh no, he's a Linux admin. That's who is it. So Rhaegal, interesting, but not who we're looking for in this scenario. I think it was started with a D. I don't remember who it is. Who's in our domain admins group? There's a user in our domain admins group we want to go take a look at. Let's see. What's he a member of? Or who are our members in here? Drogon. That's who it is. So if we see anything from Drogon, that would be interesting. So let's go see if we see any processes from Drogon in here. I mean, another thing we also could do is we could just go and dump out any Kerberos tickets that we see on the system. See a lot of stuff for NT Authority System. We see Vagar local user. That's our backdoor account. Okay. So what else do we have in here? A little bit of stuff. So only users we're seeing in here so far is Rhaegal. Now we are running it with an enhanced user suite here. Let me see. Did we have K-list? Let's see. I gotta remember what the Kerberos commands are in Apollo. Let's see. I think they're all listed under ticket. Let's see. QRST. Here we go. Ticket cache, ticket store. List all Kerberos tickets in the agent's ticket store. No, we don't have that. Let's see. I thought we had Kerberos commands actually built into Apollo. If not, we'll just go grab an assembly of... What is that? We could just grab an assembly version of Rubius and do it that way. I mean, we do have Mimikatz on here. We could actually just go run Mimikatz and dump it all. But Mimikatz output is ugly. Let's see. What else do I want to do with here? That's it. I tell you what, let's do an LS real quick. And let's just open up the file browser for this. Let's see. So we go to browsers, file browser. And then here on Vagar, let's see, who's in the users directory? So we've got Rhaegal here. I guess we can go rifle through Rhaegar's files and we can see what we've got in here. Let's see, anything interesting in here? A little NT user data. Let's go look at his documents directory. So we have pictures, videos, music. Probably nothing in there. What about in his downloads directory? Nothing in his downloads. So it looks like nothing really going on for Rhaegal in here. Well, let's see, because Rhaegal was on here. He was doing something. So let's go look at his processes real quick, and let's see what we can find real fast. So we'll sort these by user. Let's see. So we see a lot of Prohost, Service Controller. That's it? That's it for Rhaegal? RIP. Okay. Hang on. Let me go grab a copy of a tool real fast. Let's see. Sharp Collection. Copy that. Let's go grab a copy of this real fast here. CD to tools. What else do I have in here? Yeah. All right. Let's close down. Sharp Collection is a pre-built list of like a bunch of .NET C# tools that are already pre-built. Makes it nice and easy to go get them set up to run. So then what we can do is we can load those up into a fork and run and just run them in Apollo. We're not worried about stealth in this case. Okay, so now let's come back over to Mythic. Hey, Scoob, what's up, dude? Happy Sunday. Oh yeah, I'm not sponsored by Jocko yet. I see the fabric of the space-time continuum is tearing slightly. See if that fixes it a little bit. I think the fan is moving the green screen around. Yeah, it'll be fine. Bunch of science slop behind you. There is a lot of science slop, but there's also some really cool folks that stream in science and tech. It's definitely one of the less loved categories. Yeah, there's a bunch that are like, I was actually really surprised. There's one where it's like, it's just an earthquake monitor that just streams all the time. I was like, really? People watch that? It really surprised me. Like, I saw how many people were just watching an earthquake monitor. But at the same time, Muhidis and Nerdwino are always on, and they're doing cool space stuff. I really like them. The science crew is on, and they're talking about all sorts of fun biology things. So there are some really cool folks that stream over in science and tech. There's also parts people. Parts people always fixing computers and consoles and stuff. And then Ace Console Repair, I think that was their name. They're always in there like doing low-level hardware stuff. Sid Heresy, he's on a lot doing all sorts of like, he's just doing all sorts of different electronics. He'll do old stuff, new stuff, the whole gamut. So there are some really cool folks in there doing interesting stuff. Most of them are zombies. Yeah, I agree. They're just in there streaming, taking up bandwidth. They're not really doing anything. Let's see. All right, let's do something here real quick. Let's do an execute assembly. All right, I need a new assembly here. So what we're gonna do is let's go over to Tools, Sharp Collection. We'll use .NET 4.0, 64-bit version, and let's grab a copy of Rubius. Actually, is there a copy of Rubius in here? There it is. And then I want to do a Rubius triage in here. We'll give this a second because it's got to send over the assembly in chunks and then it's got to actually run it. Okay, here we go. So what do we got? So what are we doing? We're going through, actually, thank you for reminding me because I didn't pin it for tonight. Let me grab that link. Where is it? We're going through a Active Directory challenge lab. and just having some fun with it. Basically just messing around. Let's see. And I will link you to it here. There it is. Switch to that tab. There we go. Let me pin this up. So I've got this running on the home lab here. There we go. Ooh, pin that sucker. And so if you're not familiar with Game of Active Directory, it is a basically like a damn vulnerable Active Directory lab. You can deploy it on you can deploy it in Ludus, like what I've got. You could also deploy it to crap, what's that other tool? Like I think he actually added ESXi, so if you have an ESXi server, you can do it. But it's a big multi-computer lab built up for running Active Directory, and it just has a ton of vulnerable configurations in it. Stuff that you might think, my God, who would ever do that? But I actually see it a lot in companies. So it's a great place to kind of learn and experiment and tinker around with it. And they've got a couple different variations of it. And the newest one here is Dracarys. So Dracarys is not meant to be like a vulnerable Active Directory lab. It is, but it's meant to be like a challenging vulnerable lab. There's a kind of very particular way he wants you to approach this and go through it. So that's what we were doing. We're just kind of playing around with it, having some fun, seeing what he's got in here. So what I'm doing now is operating in, this is Mythic C2, and we just got a command and control payload called Apollo running on that system here. So there's 3 of them in this lab. We've got a Linux server, which is our initial foothold. We've now got server 1, which we have compromised. And then last thing we're going to do is we're going to try to find a way to get over to the domain controller here. So we're trying to see who we've got in here, what kind of permissions they've got. So far, all we're seeing is stuff for Rhaegal, but Rhaegal is a Linux administrator. We've already compromised the Linux box. So now we're trying to figure out what can we do on server 1 to potentially get over to DCO1, which is named Balerion. Right there. So the whole thing is like a Game of Thrones themed, but it's a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. Even all the times we've been having to go through and like troubleshoot things, I've been enjoying it. All right. So what we just did is, so we're operating on Vagar here. And I just did a list with Rubius to dump out all of the Kerberos tickets. So we've got a list of tickets now of everybody operating here. So we see Rhaegal, we see Vagar, which is the computer itself. We see Rhaegar. We see Administrator, which is us. That's actually our session right there. And we see a lot more stuff for Rhaegal. And let's see, Administrator again and Vagar. So we don't see any Kerberos tickets happening here. So if there is another account operating on here, it's not operating in, it's not operating via Kerberos. Hey, Sin, what's up, dude? I hadn't seen you in a while. Hope you've been doing really well, bud. So when an org hosts AD on cloud via bare metal compute, lacking an on-prem computer, is really vulnerable from memory and other side channel attacks if there's no hardware-backed security module. True. I got an org client wanted a remote attestation, but did not want Azure AD. Oh. Azure AD is its own special little thing, which that was the previous name for anybody who doesn't know, for what is now called Entra ID. Intra is what they say, but it looks like Entra. And it's its own special weird thing that they kind of didn't really, I guess, intend to have in the Azure ecosystem. And that's probably part of the reason why they renamed it, because it's kind of only Azure in name only. It doesn't follow a lot of the other conventions that the Azure cloud does. It's its own special little duck. And it's meant to be basically Active Directory in the cloud. That's what it is. Yeah, the Entra Blaise Lab. What's up, Chris? Confused about why we're doing this? I do this for a living, and I actually haven't been on a lot of in-depth penetration tests in a long time. Hack that planet. And so I do this for fun. This is interesting. Partially it's to help keep my technical skills sharp. What I've been doing a lot is doing a lot of development work, and I've been working on AI systems a lot and the security around those. So I like Active Directory. Hacking on Active Directory is very fun for me. So that's why we come in here and do it. And I like to explain what's happening because it helps me understand it better. Let's see. Yeah, that's not helpful at all. Okay, so no Kerberos tickets in here. Let's go back over to... Let's look at the processes again. Because if we don't have anything happening there, there's got to be something on this box. If we go over to Bloodhound, right, let's go look at Vagar here. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting about Vagar that we didn't already know in terms of like if it has any particular outbound permissions. Rhaegal didn't look like he did. Let's see. Inbound execution privileges. Constrained delegation user. Vagar. Yeah, that's to be expected. Let's see. Is this a member of any particularly interesting groups? Doesn't look like it. It's a member of domain computers, which then flows up to all the other standard Windows ones. Let's see. Inbound controls. Nothing quite there. So there's nothing directly on Vagar that would allow us to do this. Let's look at Rhaegal again real quick. Oh, sorry, Chris. Let me see. Do I need a solid foundation in not only malware triage, but malware reverse engineering prior to the CRTO for the red teaming labs? Now, the CRTO is really cool because that course, if you're talking about the one from 0 Point Security, which is the one I actually started doing when I first started streaming, Rasta Mouse, who created 0 Point Security and those labs, did me a solid and let me stream the labs while I was working on them. So we had a great time doing that, breaking it down, having fun, and just having a great time with it. But the one thing I really liked about the RTO class is it did teach you everything you need for the exam. There's like one or two little, you got to think a little extra hard, right? If you usually got to think about a 5 when you're going through the labs, you might have to think about a 6 when you're going through the exam, but it's not really that huge of a jump. Basically looking at weaknesses on the site's code. Kind of, but it's not like a website. And this is an authentication and authorization system. Oh, Chris, were the ads running? Dang it. Can you say your whole answer again? Damn it. I've been meaning to set up a little ESP32 display that I would put like right here. So here's the camera. I was going to put it right here. And it would tell me when the ads come up and other stuff. Just for situations like that, Chris. All right, so what I was saying is the CRTO, if you're talking about the one from 0 Point Security with Rasta Mouse, that course teaches you everything you do need to know. However, there are some prerequisites that you'll probably want to know. Otherwise, you're going to be studying a little extra to get caught up to what the lab expects you to know. But everything that is covered in the lab is what's covered on the exam. Not everything in the course material is covered on the exam, but it's really very well done. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to learn more about Active Directory. I think Microsoft built Azure AD on Windows Server for bare metal, but now is wanting to do the cloud. Is now wanted something since the cloud started maturing. So I know AWS built Cognito with virtualized compute in mind. Yeah, that's true. Cognito's its own weird setup. That's basically like AWS's answer to Azure AD in there. No, you're all good, Chris. You're all good. Let's see. Hold on, so I got sidetracked here. Let's go look at Rhaegal real quick here. Let's go see. Does Rhaegal have anything interesting for him? One session, which was on Vagar. Member of... Nothing special except for Linux admins, and I don't believe Linux admins had any particularly interesting permissions or anything about this that typically show up in Bloodhound that we could abuse. Yeah, there's 2 members there. Well, actually, Drogon is a member of the Linux admins, which makes sense because he's a domain admin. Interesting. Hold on. So what else do we have running on this system? Because there's only two options in here. There's an interesting file somewhere that we're going to be using. There's no Kerberos tickets that we could go steal. Let me see something in here. Could we... Let me see if I can look at something in here real quick. Let's see. That's right. Let's do sort by process name. Let's see. So we see Apollo in here. See Explorer. We saw this is the AV engine. Actually, we do see PowerShell running here, but I think that was actually us. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was actually us running in there. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Do we see any con host? I'm curious about this for a second. So no con host. We only saw 2 PowerShell consoles running. Actually, there's this one here. What is open console? Let me look at that. More info. That might be the SSH. Windows Terminal Open Console Headless. Interesting. I just finished the CRTO course. Going to take the exam in the next few days. Nice, dude. Let me know. I need to actually go through it again, 44, because I took it before he migrated the labs over to the new lab setup. And so I wanted to see what were the differences in the course in the lab, because he's constantly updating it. Basically, the cool thing also about the CRTO is you have lifetime access to the course material. So as he goes through and updates it, you've gotten access to the new material. I have still gone back through and tried to remember how to do something and just gone and used the course material as a reference to refresh myself or figure out what to go look at next for certain things. Because I don't have a perfect memory. Dude, no, I gotta cram so much crap in here. There's only so much RAM in this smooth brain here. I just can't fit everything. Sometimes I gotta go look stuff up again. Let's see, what else do we have running on this system here? Let's see. Not seeing a ton of processes running on this machine. There's this one for conhost. Let me see what this is. Let's go to more info. That's it? Okay. Nothing fancy showing up there. Let's see. Login UI, LSAS. We could go dump LSAS, but honestly, there's nothing really spectacular that we need in there. Actually, I tell you what, just for grins and giggles, let's do that. Hold on. What was the command in Mimikatz for that? Mimikatz dump LSAS. I don't remember what it is offhand. It's like Sakurlasa LSASE or something. Yeah, there it is. Sakurlasa. Let's see. Add a command. Login passwords. Task. Since we've disabled the antivirus, I'm not worried about running this. But just for completeness, let's go see. Because we didn't see any Kerberos tickets in there. We might see, maybe there's a hidden password in the LSA, which would make no sense, but we could check it out. We probably need to do our privilege debug in here. All right, hang on. I think it was, yeah, privilege debug. There we go. We'll run that. We'll see if it works. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I didn't think we'd need it since we're running as administrator, but you're right. Since it usually you have to have system level permissions and we're not technically running a system, it probably did need it. Now, there could be one other issue here. So, yeah, this is Mimikatz 220, December 1, 2021. So this is an older version of Mimikatz. Mimikatz, I think they slightly changed the LSAS memory format. Let me see here. That's the one from Parasect. Oh, here we go. Here's the one from Gentle Kiwi is the actual one that you want. Let's see. So the last release he did was 2022. However, he's got lots of updates in here. Oh, I don't remember how to build Mimikatz. Let me see. Oh, I don't want to... I don't have a Windows box set up. Let me see. I wonder if the mini dump will work. Yeah, what we could do is we could actually go get a dump of the LSAS process and then read it offline. We could try that. Hey, Kaiju, what's up, dude? I don't know what's going on the YouTube side. The YouTube stream is still jacking up over there. YouTube losing its mind. Oh, stand by one sec, guys. Let me do something real quick. Let me see if I can adjust something here. All right, there we go. I swapped to the backup RTMP server over on YouTube, so hopefully that is going to help it run more smoothly now. Let me see. Nope. Still jacked. On some Hack the Boxes, you had to use the older copy of Mimikatz. Well, this box is running... What's it running? Let me see. Metadata. Yeah, so this... Okay. So Gubby said to use PS Pi 64. What is PS Pi 64? Let me see. That would be handy, Gumby, except we're on a Windows box. Yeah, we're not on a Linux box. Let's see. I don't think Sharp Collection... Hang on, I'm trying to see if there's somebody that's already got like a pre-built version of it. Well, there is a... Mimikatz is already actually, we already had it installed, so we can see which version it's using. Maybe we could actually use that instead. We could use that with the execute PE in there. Let's see. Where does that install to? Does it go to... Ah, there we go. User share Windows resources. That's it. That's what we want. We want that one right there. Boop. All right. Hang on. So let's go grab that real quick. So what we'll do is we'll do execute PE. We could also go do a beacon object file, a cough. New PE. Search. So this is going to go to... We want this in user share Windows Mimikatz. Let's go in here, x64, and then mimikatz.exe. There we go. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't give it any arguments. Because I am the smoothest of brains. Let's see, do... Now it's sec or LSA. Is it login? Damn it. What was it? There you go. Let me just copy this whole thing. I can never remember what the Mimikatz commands are. Task. Oh, that's not good. New PE. Yeah. Hold on, what was the one that was already in there? Oh, default, yeah. So new PE. Mimikatz. Ah, crap. Looks like there's a execution fault in there. But, you know what we can do? Just upload it. Since we've got the antivirus basically disabled, we can just go drop it onto disk and then run it. All right, so we got it uploaded here. So what we can do is, let's just do ls real quick, make sure it landed. There we go. All right, so what we'll do is we'll do a shell mimikatz.exe, and then we'll just drop that in there. I think that's all we need. Let's try it. Damn, so this is the older version in there too. See that? This is the 2022 version. It's not the latest and greatest one in there. Now, fortunately, this one is going to keep saying that the task is running. We need to go ahead and kill it. Yep, kill job. Because I didn't put an exit command in there. So NXC didn't seem to be working for what we were doing. So could we actually... You know what? Maybe. Hang on one second. Let me try something real quick. Let me drop out of WinRM. And then let me make sure that our... Okay, cool. So our payload was properly backgrounded. It's still running okay. Let's just do a quick test. Well, in theory, it was supposed to stay alive after we exited Evil WinRM. Oh, there we go. Cool. So it did properly background. So our agent's still live on there. We've still got this. We don't have persistent set up. And if we wanted to, we could go add a local admin account. But hold on. I want to try something again real quick. So now that we're out of here, let's do an unset here. Unset curb 5 CC name. Actually, I need to do one more thing. So hold on. We got to set ourselves back to using Cyrax. I'm going to try something else. Since we found out that for some reason the alt service is case sensitive, let me try this. And then what I'm going to do is, let me change this real quick. So we'll change that to CIFS, and then we'll change this to CIFS. That will get us SMB access. And then now what we'll do is we'll export that one. And then let's go try that. Let's go try NXCU again, 44. So we'll do NXC SMB. And we're going to connect to Vagar.Dracarys.lab. Remember, we got to use the FQDN since we're doing Kerberos. And then what we want to do is use Ccache. Is that it? I think that's the option. NXC. There we go. Is it Ccache or use cache? Use Kcache? Okay, so that works. So then now let's go try that. Let's see. I believe that one was... Actually, we can just do tac SAM in here. That would dump us the SAM. Let's see. And I think there was also a DP API option in here for dumping. Let's go see what we can do with that. Let's see if this will actually work. Hey, let's go. Collecting DPAPI master keys. Grab a coffee and be patient. Since you're using a ticket to authenticate, isn't Evil WinRM weird with how it handles creds and sessions? It can be, yes. It can be a massive pain in the butt. All right, let's see what we've got here. All right, so as far as SAM accounts, nothing special going on here. We do have the local user. That's a backdoor account for all the lab machines. Let's see. We saw Vagar. We saw the DPAPI machine key. So if we need to go decrypt something encoded with DP API, we might need to use that. Let's see. That's it. Okay. Yeah, so we've got a couple things in here that we could potentially use. Let me try something real quick. Let's see. TACX, who am I? Because this wasn't working previously. Maybe it will work now that we've disabled. It works now that we got in and we disabled. With Evil WinRM, we disabled real-time protection. So it was probably detecting that whenever we did that. So
We can still do the same thing kind of over in Mythic. What I want to do is I want to get a list of all the processes and their command lines, because I want to see if there's like anything else going on over here, because I'm not really seeing a ton happening. Let me think about that. Is that the way I want to go? Yeah, because we know we should be seeing at least something happening in here, right? I just want to do that as a confirmatory test, because we should see the bot SSH script running. That was the one that logged us in as Viserion all the time. It was busted. So I want to go see if we can find out what's going on there. I just want to find that process and then see like what else we've got going on. So hold on. I got to remember how to... let's see. Windows, get process, list, and command line. I got to remember how to do that. There we go. We could do it this way, and then we could do this with PowerShell. So, which we should be able to do with the TAC capital X. Actually, we can just do this in here. PowerShell. Let's see. All right, so what do we have here for our different commands that are running? A lot of service hosts. We're kind of expecting those. We see the QEMU agent. That's because we're running on Proxmox. Let's see. Net service, Explorer. There's our login UI. Anything else in here? Bunch of embedding stuff. I want to get the command line just for this, for 4780. And let me see. What was that? Let's see. Does it mention? Actually, maybe it'll mention it here. In fact, actually, this makes it a nice, simple one-liner right there. Bam. Because what I want to do is I want to get just that one process ID. And so that one was 4780. See if I can get the full command line back out of it. Okay, well, that didn't help. Hang on, let me check something real quick. Let's see, where's server 1? Let me backdoor into that server real quick. Let's see. Local user password? There we go. Yeah, so last time we were in here, I was trying to see like what we left up and running. I wanted to see if we left it something up here and running like it shouldn't be. And okay, so then I'm gonna actually, I don't want to restart the computer. I mean, I could. Let me check one more thing real quick. Hold on one second. I want to... No, that's not it. What I want to do is I want to get a... let's see. Get TGT for root. And then I want to SSH back in as root over to Cyrax. And then let me look in the temp directory. Okay, give this about 15 seconds. We're going to run it again. Because right now, we see... Oh, wait, no, that is Viserion. 1110. Okay, cool. So Viserion's still logging in. So that's... Here's what I'm just trying to double check. and make sure I'm understanding it correctly, what it's telling me, we should see this script kind of running in there. Because that PS1 script should be running in there. That's what I was kind of taking a look at. Let me run that one more time. I think that's going to say, hey, no process found. Because we just killed that window. No, okay, it's still up. Who was running his 4780? Hang on. The PID 4780. Let's see. Oh, you know who that was? That was us. That was our evil WinRM process. That's what that was. I'm pretty sure. There we go. So there's another PowerShell here that was running with a PID of 5548. Let me go look at that one. Let's see. 5548. Let's see what that one's doing. Alright, so that one's not really running anything in here. Let's refresh our process list so we're not working on old data here. Let's see. We'll sort by PID here. Let's see. So we see Rhaegal's doing something on this box, right? He's here doing something. Hold on. Let me take a look at what he had going on here. So Rhaegal just had all these WSM Prov host. I don't remember what that is. Oh, that's WinRM. That's the Windows Remote Manager. Interesting. Well, so if Rhaegal's running that, why didn't we see anything in Rubius? Ah, damn it. Search for, let's see. Execute assembly. Let me run a triage again real quick. Because if he's connected with WinRM, there's only two options. He's either connected directly by password, or he's using Kerberos. Let's see. That's the global catalog. That's his. That's the machine's LDAP ticket. Yeah, so we have a bunch of curb TGTs for Rhaegal. We just don't have anything else that we could possibly do with Rhaegal if we went and compromised him. He just doesn't have any permissions to it. All right, that's right. We were looking at him. He doesn't have any permissions to anything. I tell you what, let's go back over to the file browser. Let's go look back at the C drive again. Refresh our list here. So what all do we have in the C drive? Well, we see the bot SSH. We see bot SSH2. All stuff that these are things that we modified to make sure they were working. What's this DNS log? Let's see. Download history? Yeah. Well, it's because can you download it? Yeah, download that file. Let me see it. Was that something we made? I don't remember. Nothing special here. Oh, good eye 44. There's a vault Looks like a key pass database. All right. All right. Hang on. Let's go find something real quick. Let's see. Where does KeyPass install on Windows? So let's go double check that. Do we see KeyPass here in program files? Let's see. Program files. No, program files. Refresh. Yeah, so we see KeyPass here. Nice. Now, chances are there's nothing actually happening in here. So we've got a KeyPass vault that we may be able to use if we can figure out how to unlock it. Now, this lab, in theory, we could go download it, potentially try to crack the password for the vault, but that's not in the spirit of this lab. We did a little bit of brute forcing in the beginning to try and get onto the Linux box, especially when it came to doing the SQL injection, because it was blind and timed based. That's pretty much brute force by any definition there. But we do have KeyPass here. 44 saw the KeyPass vault, so we might be able to do something with this. Let's see. But I don't think I saw any... Let me look at something here real quick. Let's see. Browsers. Process browser. I don't know why the process browser here, for some reason, doesn't show a lot of the processes. Let's see. So this is on Vagar, right? We're here. Oh, there we go. They're all collapsed down. All right, let's see what we've got in here. Let's expand this out. Oh, this is actually what I wanted originally, was I wanted all the commands in here. This is a little bit more readable. Hey, Disclosure, what's up, dude? I usually do stream on Sunday. It's just I think I missed last Sunday because I was just exhausted. Sock tried to wake me up, and she said I said something incoherent and rambling, and then fell back asleep, and so she decided I was too exhausted to stream. So, she tried, guys. Let's see. So there was our... Let me shrink this down a bit. No, crap, I didn't want to do that. There we go. See if I can shrink this down a wee bit. Let's see. User, I'm less concerned about who the user is right now. Let me see if I want to expand this command line portion out some more. There we go. She should have streamed. I don't know, maybe if we ever have some big event come up, maybe she'll come guest appear on the stream. But guys, know this. What's really funny is, since we've been together, right? We've been together 14 years. We've been married almost 12 years. It'll be 12 years in a couple of months. And she still doesn't get like most of the stuff I talk about with computing. And what's funny, though, is she became like the de facto tech girl for her team just from what little bit of, technology aura has rubbed off from me to her. She kind of hated it, but at the same time, she could get the stuff fixed. Hey, Blur, what's up, dude? Yeah, so we've moved over to the Windows server in our lab environment here. So we're connected over to it. We've got our nice little session happening. We've got an Apollo payload running on it. We are Gucci there. We're trying to see we're basically doing host enumeration on this server to figure out what could we maybe get to move over to DC01. That's what we're doing. So what we're doing is we're looking at the processes right now because 44 noticed that there is a KeyPass database on the machine, but we're not going to have a good way to find the password. Oh, here we go. Here's our, look at that. There's our bot SSH running using Clink. So what we're doing is we're going through the processes to see if we see a KeyPass process running on there. And unfortunately, it's just a lot of processes to kind of run through here. Let's see. It's like looking for a needle in a stack of needles. Look at that, our Mimikatz process is still running. I could kill that process. Let's see. That's the end of it. So I don't see KeyPass running in here. I wonder if I can download this table or search in it. Maybe that's a feature I'll send over to Cody. Cody, the guy who created Mythic C2, is a buddy of mine. And so I'm constantly finding like new suggestions for him. There's some of these that are missing their command line arguments. But like I'm not seeing KeyPass in here. Stuff in the configs, maybe? Possibly. I'm not terribly familiar with KeyPass. I've used other password managers, and I've just never messed with KeyPass a ton. I know a lot of people really like it. I just haven't ever taken that jump. Let me try something real quick. Yeah, I didn't think that was search in there. Bummer. So we see the PowerShell bot running here under the service host. Sorry, I'm just taking another quick look through here. Sometimes going through this with a fine-tooth comb is kind of like part of the game here. So there's QMU. If I don't see it in here, which it looks like I'm not because I'm getting all the way to the bottom of the list. And sorry, I know my big old fat head is blocking some of it. But yeah, so I'm not seeing KeyPass running in here. But given that we see that vault in there, and also we don't see that user being logged in at all. Let's see. Let's see. Where does KeyPass store config? Let's see. So typically that's an app data. There is a KeyPass config XML. So yeah, we could go take a look at that real quick. Well, if there is one. Yeah, here it is. Let's get that. Let's download it. All right, prefer user configuration true. That's it. All right, so the other one in app data. Let me check something real quick. Shell percent app data percent. I did that wrong. This should have been an echo. Well, anyway. Yeah, so app data is keyed over to the particular user in here. And when we looked in users, right? Let's see. Users. We only see one user. Right? We see Rhaegal. And inside in Rhaegal, we did not see anything else happening here. We see administrator. We see all these other ones in here. So if the KeyPass was being run, it could potentially be in one of those. Let's see. Where did it say it stores it? It stores it in app data KeyPass. So that would be in each of those users' app data roamings. So let me spin up another file browser real quick. Hang on. File browser. I didn't want to. You're killing me, Smalls. Anyway, well, that's fine because we know that that's there. Let me close this one. And then where's users again? Let's see. We looked in Regal. Let's see. App data. Maybe Regal was using app data. Let's go see. Forgot where that was. Was it app data local? App data roaming? App data roaming. All right, hang on. Let's go into roaming. Let's go rifle through his files. Okay, unfortunately, the only thing we see in there is a Microsoft directory. Let's just, for completeness, check his local in here. App data. Let's see. What's in application data? Is this a symlink? Are we in a circle? Yeah, that's a symlink. That's funny. All right. Nothing really going on in there. Let's see. So we don't have a config file in here running. I really doubt Mayfly put that in as like a red herring. Let me check something real quick. So there is a vault here for that. We see that as a file running. I'm cheating a little bit here. Okay, so we might be having the same problem here, right? Spoiler, the password's right there in it, but I want to still go through the lab and look at this. So there's a KeyPass bot running on the domain controller, right? And what it's doing is it's encoding the password. It's then creating credentials as Regal. And then it's supposed to be connected to vagar.dracarys.lab. So maybe our bot script, right? We had the bot script that SSHs from server 1 over to LX01, and that's what allowed us to get our SSH. Maybe this script has died on the DC. That was kind of my suspicion, because like, why would you plant that KeyPass file there and not be doing anything with it? So hold on. This is one of the nice things about running your own lab is you can go backdoor it and then go double check things. Actually, no, I don't want to close that. Let me see something here. Actually, I think this is the one that might be running it here. Hang on. Let's see. Where's our task manager? Real quick. Yeah, so that's the one right there. That's right. Let me close this. This is where that was where we were setting the time in there. So this says it's running, right? But obviously something is incorrect here. So go to details here. Sorry, I know this is a little bit tiny. I don't know if I can make this any bigger. That's what she said. That's also what he said. Search for PS1. No, that's not coming back. There were two scripts because we had to go backdoor into server one, and I made a copy of it so I could make changes to it and tinker it, and then I changed the actual copy that's supposed to run on the service task schedule. Let's see. Oh, the text is tiny. Okay, so this says our KeyPass bot is currently running. So why does it say that it's waiting in here? Because what this is doing is, let's go look at like what this is doing. This script here is designed to go simulate. Oh, by the way, Blurry, the YouTube is, if you want it, it's just youtube.com/blaisebits. I'll make a note to add that as a command. Let's see. If my pen will work. There we go. Let me add that. I'll add that as a command in there. There we go. But yeah, it's just youtube.com/@blaisebits. Real simple. So let's look at what this script should be doing in here. So the script should convert the password for Rhaegal over to a secure string, make it a creds object for PS credentials, and then this creds object is going to get passed over to this invoke command over on Vhagar. It's going to authenticate with cred SSP, and the script block that it should be running is program files KeyPass, right? But we don't see that happening in here. Right? Because when we look at we don't see KeyPass in there. Yo. Hey, world, thanks for stopping by, man. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day or night, depending on which part of the world you're in. And yeah, man, we do this every Saturday and Sunday. I'm using those days because that's where I'm at in Texas. And Wednesday nights, we'll do Hacker News. So got some fun stuff. We're going to talk about what all happened with Anthropic basically hyping too close to the sun and burning themselves. Can I refresh the processes here? Let me try this again. We'll give this a second. Let's see. Callback 3. PS is still running. Okay. So now this should be updated. Hold on, let me shrink this down. Can I shrink this down a little bit? No. I can do that. I can shrink down the user. Because I want to stretch this command out here. Oh, you're across the Atlantic. Yeah, I realized it's probably. Let's see. It's got to be like 3 a.m. there. Damn. Because right now we're in daylight savings time in the U.S. So depending on which part you're in, you're either like 5 or 6 hours ahead of us. So yeah, that's a very late night. More like 5 a.m. Damn. You're 7 hours ahead. Well, I hope you get a wonderful sleep. Believe it or not, that's not usually like my preferred bedtime. Before Sock and I got married, my bedtime was like 4 a.m. I'd go to bed at like 4 a.m. I'd wake up around 11. Man, that was a good sleep schedule. Now it's like The kids love you. They want to spend time with you. Pay attention to your children. Gosh. They are funny little dudes, actually. There was one time, Honey Badger was, I don't know, he's a little kid. He's 4, right? And he was experimenting with voices. And we're having dinner. I forget what we were even having. Maybe hamburgers or something. And he wanted ketchup. But he's talking like this really deep voice. And he looks at Sock and he goes, ketchup. And she's like, how do you ask nicely? And he goes, ketchup, please. Such a funny little dude. Bro, if you've got to be at work in 4 hours, definitely get some sleep. Even I try not to push myself too far under 5 hours. Once I get back to like my regular exercise routine, this whole week got jacked up because of this rush job at work. But I think the rush part is over, but we still got to finish the work, right? So I'll get back onto doing my regular exercises. But when I was regularly exercising, about at least 3 days a week, usually closer to like 5 or 6, then yeah, I was actually pretty chill at about 5 hours a night. Not if I was going like really crushing it in the gym, but like just getting a good exercise. I didn't need as much sleep. It was wild. I could actually be good. Well, really it was like 6 hours in bed, 5 hours of sleep. I'd be good. Be like solid. I tell you what, let's do one more thing here. Let's go dump all the processes to disk. We'll download that and then we'll read it. Let's go double check that. Where's our callback? Here we go. Where was our PowerShell command in here? There we go. All right, let me take out the filter. So what I want to do is I want to do this, and then we're going to write this out to commands.txt. And we're still working in the documents folder, so it should just dump them right there. We'll download commands. Actually, we could just cat commands.txt and be good. Because Apollo has its own cat command in here. Oh, that's ugly as sin. That is terror bad. Okay. I guess we're going to download it. Apollo doesn't know how to render that correctly. Just text? Yeah. Download to disk. Open. Ah, there we go. That's much cleaner. All right. Damn it. Let's see. Where's our search? There we go. Find. Find key. Find pass. Find system. Okay, so it's not doing case sensitive. Yeah, so for some reason, that key pass bot isn't working. So I think what we'll do is we'll just go rerun it. Just like we had to do with the SSH bot. Let's see. What was that? I believe it was KeyPass bot PS1. Let's see what happens. KeyPass started. Okay. So now we're not seeing that waiting happen in here. So hold on, let's delete that. Let's just go back over to Mythic. Let's redo the process list here. Refetch. Because I'm pretty sure, I mean, looking at the command line, that was the expected escalation path. was that was supposed to be running. We look at the processes running on the system. We go do that. I kind of would have preferred, like, maybe we would get in there and we'd steal a Kerberos ticket or something. But you know what? I didn't build it. I didn't take the time to. So I'm not going to harsh on Mayfly very much because he has put in just an absolute amazing amount of work into this. Let's see. Oh, let me double check, make sure that process list came back correctly. All right, yeah, it came back. We're good. Damn it. And squish. Because I'm pretty sure this is how we're supposed to actually go through this lab here. Let's see. Come on, key pass. Where are you? There's Clink again. Oh, here we go. There it is. We've got a command process. Hang on, let me hide the camera because you can't see it. My big old fat head's in the way. But here we go. Key pass, password safe, vault, and then password standard in right here. Boop. Buongiorno. Almavar? I think that's how you say it. Alvar? Hey man, welcome in. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on your part of the world. All right, so what I need is, I need this process ID. Let's go grab that real quick. Let's see. PowerShell. No, damn it. I gotta find that previous PowerShell command. Where was it? Let's see. There we go. So here I can filter by that particular PID. Let's grab that. Only 5 a.m. I get so many, well, either very early morning risers or late night folks from over in Europe coming into the stream. And I love it. Yep. All right, let's see how this is going. By the way, if you want to know the lab we're working on, it's in the pinned message in the chat over on Twitch. And it is the Game of Active Directory Dracarys lab. Why didn't it come back? It was 7304, wasn't it? Oh, damn it. Did I grab the PID or did I grab the parent ID? No, it's right there. Yeah. 7304. Why didn't that come back? You're killing me, Smalls. Do it again. Definition of insanity is running the same command over and over again and expecting different results. Hang on. All right, now let me download. Let's download that commands.txt again. Download a second copy of it. Let me open this up. All right, it should be down here at the bottom since it was like the last process run. No, we don't see that there. Oh, that's wild. How come it's not showing up in here? That's weird. So hold on. We can see the process here. Did 7304 die? Maybe the process ID changed. There's a different, maybe there's a different one happening in here. Let's see. All right, so it should be updated now. No, it's still running as 7304. All right, hang on. Let's see. View detailed data. So we can see it, and the password is using standard in. Question is, how can we get the password out of that process? What does this option do? Password standard in. Let's see. Key pass with PW standard in option. Is that literally saying like it's going to prompt us for the password? Wait, was I? Yeah, we see that one running. Close that. Okay, so what you're supposed to do is something like echo your password in, and then you do password standard in, and it should open some vault. In fact, I was trying to think about something. I'm an idiot. I was thinking, does password standard in prompt you for the password? It does, but if you do something like this, echo the password, drop it in, then you're set. But and in fact, if we want to verify this, we can actually see like what it's doing, right? So if we look for master password, this is exactly what it's doing right here. The question is, why didn't we see that in here? Why didn't that show up in the text file here when we were pulling all these? Do we see an echo command? We don't. Let me try something a little different here. Maybe we need to run this command a slightly different way. Hey, Alvar, thanks for the subscription, buddy. You are now officially an agent. Dude, that oh, I didn't realize the camera was still off. There we go. Yeah, I love the overflow. So, I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, and finally I took the time to go basically use Claude Code to build it. But yeah, this buffer overflow up here, I love this thing. It makes me so happy. So anytime someone does like a text-to-speech message or anything with bits, it goes into the buffer. And I set it to 500 because I wanted it to overflow like for every subscription. So every sub is an overflow in there. And that just cracked me up. I love that. You crashed the buffer. Way to go, sir. Ugh. That's what I'm trying to see, 44, because if that's the command it's actually running, that's what we'd expect to see, right? But for some reason, it's not showing up in here. Hold on. I know there's a way to do this with task list. Let me look at that real quick. Windows. WMI list all process command lines. Let's try it with this. Let's try it with WMIC. Maybe for some reason this get sim instance is just not doing it correctly. Let's try it with Wimic. Hey Foils, what's up, dude? Dude, Alvar, I've been streaming for about 2.5 years now, and I just enjoy it. And actually, I feel like I learn as much from the folks in the live stream chat as I do from everybody else, man. I was like, as much information as I'm giving, I feel like I'm getting a ton back, right? So it's very fun. Do I need to do wmic.exe? Rip? Let me try it with PowerShell. Why wouldn't WMIC show up in here? Yeah, that's what I was just thinking, 44. Let's see. What do you mean WMix not found? Killing me, Smalls. So get sim instance wasn't showing it, but maybe we can do it with get WMI object instead. Actually, hang on, let me see. Where was the one we did before? I think this actually is like the exact same instance, or same command. Let me see if this will work. Did we find the Kerberos bug from yesterday? Yes, we did. So, turns out, let me bring up the notes here real quick. So it turns out, for whatever reason, nothing in Windows is case sensitive, except apparently the SPNs, the service principal names. So I had this as a lowercase HTTP over to Vagar. It needed to be capital HTTP. That was the issue. I was like, I don't believe I've ever run into that before. Ever. Maybe I just wasn't paying close attention and I was just copy and pasting and like it automatically did it. Yeah, but that was it. It needed the capital HTTP to basically do the ticket substitution. I was like, okay, I got it. I get it. Yeah, so there's our command for PowerShell running. So I think it's supposed to be showing up here, but it's not. So the next question is key pass. Let's see. Let me see here. PW standard in, let's see, pull password from memory. Can we do a memory dump on KeyPass? Wait, did you see it? Am I just completely missing it? Oh, here we go. I have to read more carefully. Hold on. Now I got to go double check myself here before I wreck myself. Let me see. cmd.exe. Yeah, so for some reason, so here's the difference. Let me pull up Mythic again real quick. So when we did get sim instance, right? It didn't grab it for some reason. But we do get WMI object. It did grab it. There we go. All right, cool. So now what this does is this gets us the password for the KeyPass vault. So let me see here. I want to do this a little bit differently in here because I want to select a couple of options here. I want to get, let's do a pipe. We'll do select object, and I want to get the I think it's process ID? That's it. Let me just try the filter here. So filter, and yeah, here. Let me just copy this real quick. You know. Now, 7304 isn't the correct process, but I want to see what it'll do. Okay, so yeah, that's not coming back with anything. Okay, hold on. Let me take this out, because what I want to do is I want to see what the fields are for the different processes in here. And I'm going to filter by that. So we're going to take this, we'll do pipe. This is some PowerShell junk here. Because what I want to get is I want to get the process ID. Okay, so there it is. Process ID and then command line. I want to get those two items here. Because I just want to see something real quick. All right, so here we're getting the process ID. If we come down, we see... Here's our echo command. Okay, so that was 6780. We look at our process tree, right? Key pass is here, but the parent ID isn't 6780. Hold on. Sort by PID. Let me see here. Okay, so this is Mythic lying to us. Or not Mythic. This is Apollo lying to us, right? We don't see a 6780 in here. But in our callback, we do. This is why, again, it's always very good to go field test your tools in here. For some reason, process ID 6780 wasn't even showing up in Process Explorer here, right? In fact, here, let's do one more test. I'm going to refresh it. That's actually going to send a command back over to here. We'll let this populate. We'll go look for process 6780. All right, so we'll sort by PID. Let's see. Where is 6780? There's 6780 right there. See that? PPID of 3896. So, yeah, no 67. You were not there 5 seconds ago. Now it's refreshed and all of a sudden magically it's there. Damn it. Yep, there's, where is it? 6780, which is the one for the command line that spawned under the service host. And then if we look at KeyPass, though, its parent is 7304. Oh, sorry, its parent is 9100. So hold on, I'm going to kind of walk the tree here a little bit. Where's 9100? 9100 is us? He's just running in command.exe? Alright. That's weird. I don't think that's how the process tree is supposed to look. I think we've confounded it with our Apollo binary running in here. But anyway, alright. So we did find it though. We do have... we got the password to the key vault. So we got to go grab that key vault now. Let's see. Where was that? Did it show up in here? It didn't show up in here. So let me copy this real quick. I'm going to put this in the notes. Copy. Let's see. Notes. Let's see. So let's make a note to say on Vagar. Found KeyPass Vault. Had to fix bot script on DC01, then spawned process to log in to KeyPass, capture password for vault. And then let me grab the output real fast here. So the output we're looking at is this one right here. Because we don't care about the rest of the command line in there. Ah, I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Put some ellipses in there. There's stuff before and after. Boop. Now we're cooking with propane. Which version of KeyPass is it? I don't know. I think we can check though. We come back over to the file browser. Let's see. It was in program files, KeyPass. And if we look at the KeyPass executable and we see, it doesn't directly show us over in Mythic. We could view the permissions to it, but it's not going to give us any of the metadata about which version it's running. Let's see. We could download the license.txt. That might tell us. I don't know if it's going to have the version in it. We could also just download the executable and look at the metadata in it if we wanted to. This is a fairly recent version, though. It's from 2025 for the license, so it's been updated. Let's see. I believe we already looked at the config. Excuse me. Let's see. There was a 2023 CVE for it that was a critical. Ah, I gotcha. Well, we've got it here. So what we can do is, let's see. So here's the vault file right here. So let's go ahead and download that. And then what we'll do, let me put that in the notes. Let's see. I can't type. Let's see. Downloaded KeyPass at what's the name of that file? Just vault.kdbx. Let's see. KDBX. Ooh. And then after that, what we need to do is we just got to get a copy of KeyPass on this system. We can then use the password. We can use the vault file, and we'll be Gucci. Well, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see what's in the file. So let me go back over to the callback. Let's go ahead and download that file. Boop. We got it there. Yeah, we shouldn't need a CVE for this one, but that's interesting. I hadn't actually heard of any CVEs for KeyPass. So like I said, I learn a lot coming up on the stream. You guys share a ton of information with me, and I very much appreciate it. Let's see. Let's clear this. Let's, that's not where I wanted to go. CD back over to Dracarys. And then let's go copy from downloads. Let's go get the vault, and we'll put it in the Dracarys thing here. And then do we have KeyPass installed? We have KeyPass to John. That's not what we need. What I need is app search KeyPass. Let's see if we've just got it in here. Yeah, so we have a copy of KeyPass 2 right here. So let's go ahead and we'll use our handy dandy install KeyPass 2. Hey Rabbit, what's up, dude? well, let's see. Maybe Kali had to change their apt repos. Yeah. So Al, this machine is when it first spins up in the Ludus lab, it is very bare bones Kali. So that's an alias I put in for sudo apt install tac y. Because I got so tired of typing that. I know, Rabbit, dude. Talk about bad timing, man. Yeah, I'm gonna be in Charlotte. I fly in on Monday, and then I fly back at the pre-butt crack of O Dark 30 on Thursday. So Monday night is going to be preparing for the presentation I'm giving. I'm teaching a course for a client. I'll be there Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday night, they want to have like a big team dinner for the training. I was like, all right, cool. So literally Wednesday night is the only night I've got available while I'm in Charlotte. And that's just bad timing, man. Let's see, I've been super impressed by Claude Pro, so it just wrote me a working graph engine shader to offload probability density rendering to a GPU, and it worked. Nice, dude. This is changing my mind on vibe coding. For when I'm doing stuff like that, oh, by the way, Nick of Town, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. But yeah, dude, when I'm doing stuff like that, like little one-off things, yeah, it actually does a pretty decent job. And there's certain scaffolding you can put into Claude Code to try to make the code a little bit more manageable and reproducible. And so I use it all the time for like small tools that I want, things that I want it to make. And actually, I still use Claude a decent amount, even if their guardrails have just gone to crap. I tried to get it to take some notes on what we've been doing on Dracarys. And it absolutely flipped its lid because there was all the Kerberos stuff happening in there. I'm like, it's an AD lab, dude. Just chill the F out. Anyway. So, yeah, I think they turned up their guardrails after everything happened with Fable getting export controlled. Okay, now that we've got this, maybe now it'll actually install. All right, while it's doing that, let me go grab a copy of the password. Let's copy that, and then we'll see what we've got in the KeyPass vault here. All right, so let's see. KeyPass dos right here. Sure, why not? All right, let's open a file. Let's go into, God, this UI is ugly as sin. Let's see, Dracarys, vault, master password, open, hello. Hello, hello. We've got some goodies in here. Hold on. Let's see if I can change language. No. Can I? Can I change it to dark mode? Can I just make it in something that doesn't suck? Options. Interface. Do you have a dark mode? Hold on. I'm going to close it and reopen it because I'm so opposed to light mode. Oh, you're killing me.
You suck. Anyway, I'll just have to suck it up. All right, so what we've got in here is we've got 2 sets of passwords. We have a domain administrator, and then we've got Drogon, who is also a domain administrator. So nice. I'm going to write my Fable comments over Discord. Oh, novel incoming. I sense the salt about to start flowing. Wait, hold on. You're not concerned about guardrails because it allowed you to make a simulator for a targeting algorithm for low-flying cruise missile acoustic sensor grid. But cybersecurity is where we draw the line. No cybersecurity, no biology. What is that sun in the middle of the screen? I tried, man. I tried to turn it into the black hole. And KeyPass's options are absolutely horrendous. Just, I tried. I was like, can we just not? Hold on. Actually, one of the guys recommended another. Hold on. Hold on. There was another one. Where was it? Hold on. I think 44 sent it. KeyPass XC. Let's see. Oh, yeah, there it is. Let me try a search for that. App search KeyPass XC. Is that like a command line version of KeyPass? I'd be willing to try that, but there has to be a command line interface for KeyPass. Hang on. Because that interface is so god-awful. Let's see. KeyPass CLI for Linux. I'm on here searching all the time, and you're like, are you a bot? What does it matter? Everybody's putting bot-friendly crap on their websites anyway. KeyPass XC CLI. Do we have that? Damn it. Let me try something real quick. Let's see. Sudo apt remove KeyPass 2. I'm going to try installing KeyPass XC. I want to see if it works any better. Oh, so for the guardrails, you just told it was for civil air defense. An early warning. Still really funny that it's like, sure thing, fam. I got you. Here's a low-level flying, fast-moving aircraft targeting system. A dumpster fire. Just let it be free. Let it go. Nope, not that. So yeah, pretty soon the web pages aren't even going to let you in if you're not a bot. I know, right? We're like, oh, you're a human? Be gone. We don't want to show you JPEGs. Let's see if that one looks any better. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Open a database. It actually has dark mode. What was the password? Hang on. Unlock. Windows. There we go. Can I... As I tell my wife all the time, let me see if I can make this any bigger. Let's see. Settings. Can I just make the font size any bigger?
Secret Service integration? The name of, I get what it's doing, but the name of it just sounds really funny. I guess I can't change the font size. Anyway, so we've got two entries in here. We have one that's just called domain admin, username administrator, and then we've got Drogon in here. So let's go test Drogon's credentials real quick. Let me see. Do we have a Curb 5 set? Okay, we don't. So let's go just test that with NXC real quick. We'll do SMB over to Baller Ion dot Dracarys dot lab, and then our domain will be Dracarys dot lab, and then our, actually I think it's just Dracarys. I don't know, we'll put it, why not? Let's do that. User Drogon? How do we spell that? Drogon, just like it sounds, unlike every other name in this entire thing. And then for our password, damn it, I didn't copy it. Copy. Damn it. Mismatched quotes. Hey, there we go. Boom, there's DA on the lab. There was a normal font size in there. God, I gotta get better. We're just actually reading my screen. Font size, large. I like them thick. I like a good thick font. And they did make it a little bit bigger. But that too is also out of Telsock. That's the best she can hope for. Awesome. I think it would have been fun if there was maybe a different way to move over to the domain admin. Yeah, DA, let's go. What is this link you just sent me? Ken always sends the good stuff. Let me see. I love Sunday morning breakfast cereal. Prove you're not a human. There are no more humans. Correct. oh, that's... He doesn't have to use the keyboard or monitor. It's just a game all robots find amusing after we're gone. Well, now I'm sad. I like big fonts and I cannot lie. That's right. Yes, victory. All right, cool. So let's go through kind of what we did in here. Let me pull up the blackboard of knowledge here. So from this, we actually went and, let's see, after we got the service ticket, that gave us basically admin to Vagar. After we were there, we found a process injecting process with password. Let's see. In the command line here. Woot. So after we found the process with the password of the command line, that allowed us to open KeyPass Vault. Bam. And then after we opened the KeyPass Vault, that then gave us Drogon's password. It's a very fancy G there. That gave us Drogon's password, just like that. All right, so let's walk through the entire attack chain here. So we started on the Linux server. And heck, we're finishing it like right at near the end of the lab time, so that's perfect. So on the Linux server, we used a SQL injection. I didn't mark this down in here, but we used a SQL injection, which got us Sunfire's account credentials. So there was a SQL injection in, I forget what the web app was called. I'll have to go look at my notes again. But we had a blind time-based SQL injection. We were able to use that to brute force out the credentials for Sunfire. Sunfire had SSH access to the Linux box. We didn't see anything happening there. So then doing a little bit of research, we found out that because this Linux machine is joined to Active Directory and it's using MIT Kerberos, Sunfire is active credentials in the domain. Every machine by default in Active Directory has a machine account quota. That should have been a Q. The machine account quota of 10 right here. So with that, we made a machine called root. So root.dracarys.lab. Now, whenever you make a computer account in Active Directory, you're actually making an account with root and a $sign. Oh, welcome in, Space Raiders. Y'all are technically space invaders, except I don't know if you're really invading because you're all welcome. Welcome in, Nerduino peoples. I was actually just shouting you out earlier, Nerduino, because we were talking about who are like the real OG science folks over in Science and Tech on Twitch. Shout out the Nerduino. Not only does he have an awesome name, yes, by joining chat, you are all now feds. Congratulations. And if you're wondering why that is, if you didn't read the chat rules and you just clicked the little button, there's a rule in there that says, I'll get to the shoutouts in a second. There's a rule there that says, everybody in chat's a fed, and immediately following that is a rule that says, don't discuss anything illegal, see the previous rule. All the Nerduino love. Hang on, let me go back through the chat real quick. All right. Sir Yogiwan, thank you for coming online. And then Psionical Laboratory, that's an awesome name. Thank you for coming online. Harold Spark, thank you for coming online. And Eagle, thank you for coming online. Welcome in. We actually just finished up a lab that we were doing in here. Is it possible to run this lab offline? That's what I'm doing. I've got it running on a server here at the house. It's running a cloud lab system. Let me show this to y'all real quick because it is one of my absolute faves. It is called Ludus. Ludus is a very cool system. It basically sits on top of Proxmox, which is another hypervisor. If you're familiar with something like ESXi, it runs in that kind of same vein. Ludus, though, was designed primarily for cybersecurity labs. However, that's not all it's really based around. You can do a lot of other stuff with it. So Ludus is really awesome. You essentially go through and set up a bunch of templates for your systems, and it comes with a whole bunch pre-made. Windows 11, I think Windows 10 is in there. Server 2022, Server 2025, Kali Linux. There's others in there. I can't remember them offhand. But it comes with a whole bunch of those. You build those templates, they come down, it loads them up into Packer, or creates the templates with Packer files. And then whenever you want to go spin up a lab, it's very easy. Hang on, let me go over to the get started. Quick start. Let me show you. Basically, the entire lab gets defined using Ansible and YAML. That's it. Yeah. So if we come over to the environment guides, let's look at a very basic one here. Let's see. Where's our basic AD lab? Here it is. So if you were to go set up a lab like this in your home network, that's a lot of work. You've got to go set up a router as a Debian 11 distro. You got to go set up a Kali VM. You got to go make a Windows Server VM. You got to go make a Windows 11 VM, Windows desktop version. This is a pain in the butt. And then you got to go configure all the network restrictions between them here. This is all compressed down into this one little YAML file here, where you define your virtual machines, their properties, and how they're going to talk to one another. And then you can get down here real granular with the network setup. And that's it. So you pop this sucker in, you tell it, hey, this is what I want to go configure. Boom, it automates the deployment. I had someone that made automation software to do this with Terraform several years ago. I know, I would have killed for Ludus a long time ago. It's not new, really? I've been using it for about 2 years now, I think. And it had been out for a little bit before then, so it's not super old.
And they just released a bunch of new like paid features, but the free version runs amazing. They're currently on Ludus version 2 here. Are you an undercover cop? No. Are you kidding? There is no cops with such a majestic beard. So, oh yeah, the shirt. 1.44 megabytes of pure power. I love this shirt. My wife got it for me for Christmas. She got tired of all my nerd shirts having holes in them because they're older than our marriage. We've been married for 12 years, just about. Hey, Zultralord, what's up, man? Dude, you're the one I think that, hold on, I know your name. You're a mod for Nerduino, aren't you? The name sounds so familiar. But I recognize your name. I just don't remember where from. But thank you for coming online. So this was like 5 or 6 years ago. We deployed 442 VMs on a cluster with it. Damn, that's still pretty freaking good, dude. Yeah, so that's what we were doing here. The lab we're actually running tonight is... Let me find it here. Oh, no, I got it in the pinned comment. Hang on. Here we go. So this is something called Game of Active Directory. And it's all Game of Thrones themed. Thanks, Eagle. And what it does is it's meant to be like a damn vulnerable Active Directory. Well, there's lots of different flavors of the GOAD lab. And one of them is this new one called Dracarius. And it's meant to be a bit of a challenge one. We did a lot of Kerberos sleight of hand. And in fact, I'll walk y'all through the attack chain. We were kind of walking through it right as y'all raided in. I'll just start from the beginning. We'll go over it here. Let's see. Where's my little paint job here? There we go. Eventually, I'll get the tablet set back up where I can actually draw it. I'm not having to be stuck in MS Paint, but that's where we are. So this lab had 3 machines in it. We have a Linux machine that is joined to Active Directory. So it's got Kerberos communications to our domain controller. And then we have another Windows server that is also joined over there. It's got the same kind of connection. The Linux machine being joined actually taught us quite a bit. So what happened was this Linux machine was running a web app, and that web app had a SQL injection vulnerability. So we were able to, now SQL injection comes in many types, shapes, flavors, and colors. This particular one was called a time-based blind injection, meaning we could tell when something was happening by looking at the timing of how long responses took. If the response took longer, then we knew that our SQL injection actually was firing because of, we put basically a little sleep command in there. So after we did that, we went through and used SQL map to brute force what was in the database, and we found credentials from that SQL injection for this guy, Sunfire. So Sunfire is a legitimate user. We were able to connect to the domain, but Sunfire didn't really have any permissions on there. But it did allow us SSH access over to this Linux system named Cyrax. So on Cyrax, we didn't really see any way to escalate our permissions. Because this computer is joined to the domain, it has to have its own set of credentials as a computer account on the domain. I wanted those credentials. So once we figured that out, well, after doing a little bit of research, we found out that because Sunfire's a domain account, it can actually create computer accounts. Any domain user by default can register new computers to the domain. Cool. So we made an account named root on here. You know, you're wondering, well, why would you do that? I'll explain you. So a computer with the name root will actually have a username of root with a $sign at the end. However, there's a commonly known issue when you're using Kerberos of the MIT variety in Linux, and a computer account is logging into that system, it will just drop the $sign. So with that, we were able to log in as root on that box. Once we had that, we were able to actually go steal tickets for Cyrax's computer account so that we could impersonate that computer. And also we found a Kerberos ticket for another user named Viserion. The real ones use MS Paint. I've used MS Paint for so long, but I could do really nice drawings when I had the tablet. Let's see. I need to find one of those older floppies because I programmed in BASIC with it in the 8th grade back in '87. Dude, BASIC was actually where I started. but it wasn't in 87. This was probably in 92. I think I was about 8 years old, about in that range right there. And I actually had a little laptop, and it was a very tiny one. It was a VTech laptop, and it had a basic interpreter in there. So anyway, before I get distracted, this was just the first part of the chain, right? So we compromised this Linux server. We go make a computer named root, and that allowed us to get root access onto the Linux machine because MIT Kerberos doesn't like $signs and dropped it. So after we did that, we had our TGT for another user named Viserion. That allowed us to get some extra permissions to Vagar right here. Also, Gorka, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. So when we looked at this, I don't mind being an undercover investigator. Yeah, I bet you do like investigating undercovers, don't you, dirty boy? I started with the ZX Spectra 48K Plus Basic, and then went to Turbo Basic XT, and then later to the 286 and 386. Damn. Holy old school Batman. I know, right? There's not gray in the beard for no reason, man. That's why there's a... All right, so coming back over to this. Once we had Viserion, he had a special permission called write SPN, a service principal name, over to Vagar. So what we did is Cyrax also had something called delegation permissions to an old computer named Arax that didn't exist. So we went and made the Arax computer. Then after we went and added an SPN for Arax, we were able to then basically get a ticket for Cyrax, delegate it to Arax, then go request a ticket impersonating it as an administrator. Basically, I'm glossing over a lot of details here because it's very deep Kerberos. But once we had that, we were able to play this Kerberos shell game and then use that administrator to connect over to server 1, Vagar, right here. Once we had access to Vagar, what we found was we had a process running. We had to actually go fix a lot of stuff in the lab. I'm glossing over that too. The lab didn't deploy cleanly in Ludus. It happens sometimes. But what we found is we found a process that had a password in the command line, and that was a password to open a KeyPass vault. Once we downloaded once we found that process and we downloaded the KeyPass vault, we were then able to find Drogon's password. And Drogon is a domain administrator right here. So then we had Drogon, and bam, we were set. So this one is owned. Boop, boop. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. MIT Kerberos may not like the $sign, but MIT itself does. Yeah, no kidding, right? Let's see. The youngest recognized programmer passed IBM's Python and AI certification at age 6. Damn! So, Psionic, when I was in college, there was a young boy who I believe was maybe 12 years old who was in my physics class. You know, one of those kind of kids. And actually, I got to hang out with him. His mom was always with him. They had their little brother, or his little brother was there too, their younger son. And he was a sharp little dude, right? He struggled, and he was actually, I think he was in a good spot because he struggled with the math. This was physics. This was calculus-based physics, right? So he's sitting there doing integrals and differentials with us, just like we're doing. But he's freaking 12, right? And I heard some people shit talking about him. I was like, dude, what were you doing at 12? I don't know about you, but I was picking my nose and picking my butt and just doing stupid stuff. I sure as hell wasn't in university. Don't give him crap because he's struggling. He's doing it at a younger age than any of us did. And I was 30 at the time. I was very late going to college. That's absolutely wild because here I am 29 learning Python for the first time. Dude, it's never too late. It is absolutely never too late. What I like is you've always got time to like keep improving yourself. I mean, heck, my wife and I, we got married when I was 30. Right? I was just about to turn 31. I barely graduated when I was 30 because like I graduated in December and my birthday's in January. So like I was about to turn 31 right then. And yeah, I was by far like one of the oldest, if not the oldest people in my class. And actually it was really funny because one of my professors for one of my math courses, I found out from another professor that he was like this wunderkind, and I had graduated with his bachelor's in math at 16 and had his PhD at like 19. And I'm like, oh God. So I hung back after class. He and I had a very good relationship. And I had to ask him, I was like, dude, how old are you? And he told me, and I think he was like 35 or something. I was like, oh, thank God. I'm not older than the professor. He started dying laughing. Because he's like, would you believe that was actually a problem in the beginning? I was like, yes, I would. Dude, Harold, I don't even know, man. I don't know why some people just like to tear other people down. I was like, bro, he's out there crushing it as far as I'm concerned. He was way ahead of the curve. I'm in my mid-40s and I'm learning every single day. So my infosec is weak. So I'm learning. AI times right now are like broadband in the late 90s, the industry ever evolving. Dude, is it? The news cycle around everything AI is just nuts, rabbit. I tried going to ITT Tech, but I walked away not long before they were shut down. Dude, ITT Tech was a whole wild scenario. And in fact, I remember talking to a dude who was a stock trader, and he's like, I've got this really cool program. I was like, okay, don't give me the nitty gritties, but like give me a little bit of the details. He's like, yeah. He showed me like what was happening, and he showed me one of his suggestions. I'm like, dude, you just bought ITT Tech. You know they just filed for bankruptcy, right? He's like, what? Oh man. Hey Bobby, what's up, dude? I got kneecapped by my parents not knowing what to do with the smart kid, so I'm catching up decades later. I was in the same boat, Debug. My parents, I was crushing it in school up to the 4th grade, and then I just stopped giving a damn because school was so boring, and there were other kids that I knew for a fact were being graduated because no kid left behind. I was like, that's really detrimental to the kid because you're passing them on before they're ready, right? So I knew these guys were failing. I knew that this stuff wasn't happening, and that's when I actually honestly started doing internet hood rat stuff. That's a story for a little bit different time, unfortunately. Because unfortunately, guys, I hate to say it, but I've got to wrap up for tonight. So we just finished this lab up, but if you like this kind of hacker stuff, hey, Peaches. You came in just in time. Peaches, come here. Hang on. You okay? Come here. Come here. Here's Peaches, by the way. She could make a late night appearance. Were you outside? Did you go outside and get yourself all worked up? Hello, Peaches. Who's your good girl? Yes, you are. Oh, no. She's all excited. She must have been outside, and then she comes back in. She's got the zoomies. She's definitely an indoor princess. So, but what's that? I thought you might let her in. Sock's like, you're the one who left her out. I was like, what's wrong with your letter-ins? You know? Yes. She's a sweetie, too. It's really funny because it took a long time to decode like what her barks meant. Because she wasn't very vocal when we first got her. And now I've determined that when she's barking, when I'm like roughhousing with the kids, or even just hugging Sock, she's like, it's a, I want to join in. Not a, I'm scared of what's going on. What'd you do? Nothing. Well, stop working her up. She's all excited. Anyway, before Peaches came burling in and distracting me like she usually does, she's my little shadow. I am her human. Sock is her number 2 human. It's just how it goes. But anyway, so yeah, unfortunately, I've got to wrap up for tonight. I've got work in the morning. So if you like this kind of stuff, lots of stuff, basically computer hacking and information security, I got 2 things for you. One, we do this every Saturday and Sunday night. We'll go through, we'll do labs, we're building tools, we're tinkering around. we'd like to do, as I say, hack around and find out. And then Wednesday nights, we're doing Hacker News for the week. So looking at different technology, cybersecurity news, all sorts of fun stuff. But also, there are other folks that are streaming during the day. So here, I'll drop this over in the chat. Let's see. Go check out... Ah, damn it. It won't... I got to fix one of my computers. There we go. Go check out InfoSec streams. There are people that are on here all times of day throughout the week, except for some reason late at night, which breaks a lot of the hacker stereotype, if you ask me. It's like, why are we the only ones on here late at night? But go check it out, because there's folks on here doing things, all different levels, all different experiences. Some of them are just getting into it. Some of them are very seasoned folks, like if you've ever seen Tiberius. He's a longtime security professional. But yeah, come check out this site during the day if you're just looking for somebody to go watch. There's tons of great folks on here. Unfortunately, we're the only ones registered that are on right now. So we got to go find somebody we can raid out to. Let's see. Who else is in science and tech? Let's go see. Science is on. They're always good for a raid. I do love science. They do really fun stuff. Oh, actually, hold on. I see a new guy on here. What's this guy working on? Hold the phone. Hang on. We got a new guy in here doing some AD work. Let me see what he's doing.
On. Oh man, I'm gonna play a match of League here real quick before I shut down my stream. But I'm built a home lab and I'm just practicing attacking it basically. If that's really the nutshell, right? Is
Oh, he's just wrapping up his stream. Damn.
built an Active Directory at home, so my home lab is an Active Directory domain controller. And then
Let's see. Thoughts on Gemini 3.5? I don't really get a lot of use out of the Gemini models, friend. Actually, for a long time, I didn't even use the Chat GPT models, but through a connection, I actually got access to GPT 5.4 and 5.5. I was testing those, and actually, they were doing a really good job. So I don't even use Claude Code as my primary coding agent. I use it as a general use agent. I've got most of my code being generated by, what is it? I got a lot of that being handled over by ChatGPT now. ChatGPT, as the Primogen likes to call it.
So when I put this on,
got a bad hard drive? Dude, I'm right there with you. I'm trying to find a replacement for this one. It's a 10 terabyte that died in my NAS, and they're running like 350 to 400 bucks.
Try and get into my
it's
Active
rough.
Directory domain controllers. So
Okay, hold on. We're gonna go raid over to this guy real quick
what I've done so far is
because he's explaining what he's got in his lab.
So I went on an assumed breach scenario.
And so this guy's named Oshikiru. Kirusu?
A low-level user account.
He's getting ready to play League of Legends, but he was doing other Active Directory stuff.
And
We'll go show him a little bit of love. You guys can ask him about that. Unfortunately, guys, I've got to go to bed. Otherwise, Sokka is going to be crazy mad at me. I will catch up with you all Wednesday night. We'll do Hacker News. We're going to talk about everything that happened with Fable getting shut down by U.S. export controls and see what's going on with that. I'm using Codex and it's doing quite good for automatic inclusion testing. Nice, dude. Yeah. Everyone, y'all have a fantastic week. If it is already your Monday, then I want you to have already initiated what I call crushing it mode, which is we destroy the week. We do not go weekly into the week. If it is your Sunday, get a good rest, prepare for crushing it mode to kick in just a few short hours. And so we can knock this week out like it owes us money. And I want all y'all to remember Wednesday night, we'll be doing Hacker News. We'll be hanging out, goofing around. You guys will be distracting me and saying all sorts of obscene things in the chat like you usually do. That's all right. I'm not going to hold it against you. I find it hilarious. And I think that's it. Wait, I forgot. I have one more very important thing I want all y'all to remember. And that is, when you get to the stream, drop happy hackers. And I love you. Peace.